I am Abhishek Misra, great-grandson of Chaganti Somayajulu, and would like to introduce the audiobook of Chaso Kathalu. The book contains stories written by the finest short story writer in modern Telugu, Chaganti Somayajulu, popularly known as Chaso. The audio rendering of these stories was done by my grandmother, the youngest daughter of Chaso, Krishna Kumari. Appropriately, she put the title for a compilation of these audio stories as Nana Kathalu na Notanta. Chaso was born in northern coastal Andhra Pradesh in 1915, but lived most of his life in vibrant literary and cultural center of Vijayanagaram. He died in 1994. Chaso never had the habit of publishing whatever he wrote. To Ataluri Narasimha Rao's question, "How do you estimate yourself as a writer?" Chaso replied with an exclamation of pain, "I am my own critic. I shall tear up whatever I don't like. I am a writer with complete self-confidence." The first compilation of his stories was done in 1943, titled Chinaji Kathalu. Next one, with more stories added, in 1968, was titled Chaso Kathalu. After having seen many a number of reprints, the sixth edition included 40 stories. He wrote about 50 stories total. The plots of his stories are tightly constructed. We find a minimalist portrayal of his characters, like beggars, peasants, and widows, children, prostitutes, Ilongi, and so on. He wrote slowly, publishing sparsely. In an interview given in his life in 1987, he responded to a question about his modest output. "It is not the case that I wrote little. Numerically speaking, I wrote a lot, but ever since I was young, I had the habit of tearing up whatever I didn't like, for whatever reason. I didn't have any desire to publish everything I wrote. I had no wish to get a name from publishing a lot, and I didn't write for money or fame. I write only if I understand fully. I think more than I write. I take years to complete a story after the idea has come to me. It took me 3 years to finish the story, Enduku Palestina Nana, meaning why should I lose the dead? This story, as of other stories like Violin, Firewood, and Find and Enjoy It, bring tears to our eyes." He has often been compared to Chekhov by Telugu writers. Both in these two writers' stories, very dramatic things happen, in rather underdramatic ways. A European counterpart to Chaso, Isaac Babel, his elder contemporary, another iconic craftsman of his day, might be better, as Velchuru Narayana Rao and David Shulman put it. Chaso was one of the founders of the Progressive Writers Association, which held its official meeting in Tenali in 1943. His second published story was Kunkudaku, in ARA SAM's special issue February 1943. Chaso considered himself as a Marxist writer, also by many from Telugu writers, but as per critics Velchuru Narayana Rao and David Shulman, Chaso's stories are far too nuanced to be classed under any ideology. Chaso was unusually sober realist, endowed with penetrating understandings of human motivations, utterly opposed to chimerical theories of idealist imagination. In the words of Acharya Ronanki Appalaswamy, a short story to him is a lyrical poem without the shackles of meter and rhyme. An intensity of effect is what he aims at. A certain character that has impressed him in near or distant past, and a single or series of incidents totally unconnected with that person strike him with a flash of sudden illumination, and he begins a story and develops it in a way that unmistakably makes for the conclusion he has already foreseen. You make a start to read, and sentence follows sentence closely and inevitably, as if it were the final conclusion strikes you all, like a cutting sword of revelation. A close and repeated readings of Chaso's stories reveal to the reader a more complex message than a surface narrative. This he attained through keen observation of masses in minute detail, and by his tight construction of a plot that reveals indirectly and economically the inner person. Ellipses and iconic dialogue carry deeper meanings than is really apparent, thus making them repay close attention and deserve more than a single listening. Another important striking feature is Chaso's reproduction of northern coastal Andhra's lower caste, its Telugu dialect. His characters speak a rich and highly sophisticated language, with distinct lexical and phonological features, which Chaso picks up with great accuracy. This dialect has a unique expressivity. Chaso was able to capture the beauty of this dialect and record its idioms. He was next to Gurajada Apparao, who succeeded in doing so. Velchuru Narayana Rao and David Shulman translated 20 Chaso stories into English, and brought them in the book Chaso's Doll's Wedding and Other Stories, published by Penguin Group under Modern Classics in the year 2012. Chaso's selected stories in English was done by K. Chatharas, K. Mahapatra, published by Sahitya Akademi in the year 2014. They've been also translated into Indian regional languages such as Oriya, Bengali, Malayalam, Tamil, and Hindi.